Your sense of goodness might just be weaponized self-pity. That is not a comfortable idea, but it's one that Friedrich Nietzsche insists you confront head-on. Not to judge your intentions, but to unmask the operating system shaping every moral impulse you have. You think you're making your own values, choosing your own virtues, living by self-chosen rules. Nietzsche would laugh. What if those rules, those habits, those automatic judgments about right and wrong, what if they're more like invisible cages than paths toward thriving? Let me drag you back to the late 1800s. Europe isn't just bustling with steam engines and smokestacks. The continent's old certainties are dissolving like mist. Church authority evaporates. Science and industry bulldoze old dogmas. And you, if you were alive in that era, would feel a kind of moral vertigo. The traditional anchors that defined virtue are gone, and something else must fill the vacuum. Nietzsche steps into this moment, his question sharp as a scalpel. Where do your values really come from? Slave morality, he says, is born out of resentment. What he called ressentiment. It's the psychological poison of the powerless. Those who cannot express strength directly, forced to twist their impotence into a moral system that flips reality upside down. The powerful create their values through action and affirmation. Master morality. The powerless, unable to live like that, manufacture a defense mechanism that sanctifies everything weak: obedience, humility, passivity, victimhood. Not because these are evolved virtues of the spirit, but because they're all that's left to weaponize. Your desire for goodness is not innocent. It's a cleverly disguised attack on vitality itself. Don't believe for a second that slave morality is just about being nice, or that it's the golden rule repackaged for modern self-help. That is the soft propaganda of a culture addicted to safety and allergic to truth. Every time outrage is amplified on social media, every time victimhood is celebrated as moral high ground, you see a new digital chapter of slave morality. Your outrage is a product. Your hurt feelings are a commodity. This isn't evolution toward higher compassion. It's an autoimmune disease of the soul, where the body attacks its own potential out of chronic resentment. So answer this. If your moral rules actually helped you thrive, why do they so often suffocate you? Why does every credo of humility or patience so quickly become an excuse for self-sabotage? Could it be you are complicit, not in your flourishing, but your own weakness? Nietzsche's challenge is not buried in dusty history. It's embedded in every algorithm whispering, be safe, fit in, stay small. But if you're not disturbed yet, you're not paying attention, because the next move is not about diagnosing your illness, but exposing the logic that keeps you sick. Let's strip away the polite fictions you've inherited and look straight into the engine room of your own behavior. Do you really think your anxieties and ambitions are personal, or do they have someone else's fingerprints all over them? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Slave morality, the psychology of the weak, didn't just fuel individual survival. It metastasized, mutated, and infected cultures, becoming what Nietzsche calls herd morality. This isn't a distant historical process. It's the unconscious software running in your head right now. In 1880s Europe, Nietzsche watched the death of God make room for something new, but not necessarily something better. When old values crumbled, individuals were left gasping in a moral vacuum, ripe for contagion. Out of this crisis, herd morality rose, the internalization and normalization of slave morality, manifesting as your compulsion to conform, obey, and seek validation through sameness. You want to be liked, to fit in, to signal virtue by echoing the crowd. You become smaller every time you like what you don't love, because the herd gets stronger each time you abandon your difference for comfort. Don't confuse this for genuine community. Herd morality isn't the camaraderie of a team or the loyalty of a tribe. It's slavish obedience wearing the mask of belonging, enforced through guilt and the terror of standing out. It feels like solidarity, but only because you're punished for dissent. In Nietzsche's eyes, this is self-sabotage cunningly disguised as virtue. You become your own jailer, proudly shackled by opinions you never chose. Now upgrade this for the 21st century. Today's algorithms don't just reward conformity, they monetize it. Social media turns herd morality into a velvet straitjacket, soft, comforting, and ultimately suffocating. Think about it. How often do you self-censor for fear of being ostracized, not by friends but by faceless metrics and invisible strangers? When viral trends erupt, you're infected too, by a desire you can't trace, a fear of missing out that feels existential. Every moment of moral grandstanding, Every anxious calculation about what's acceptable is herd morality using you as its puppet. You'll tell yourself this is just how the world works, safety in numbers. But what if your deepest anxieties are simply herd signals misfiring in a world that rewards conformity? What if the paralysis you feel before speaking your truth is manufactured obedience, anxiety weaponized by the collective to keep you identical, predictable, weak? Nietzsche's warning is urgent. When obedience becomes your identity, you cease to create, you only repeat. This is resentment mechanized as social order. The herd devours difference to preserve its illusion of virtue. If you sense a growing discomfort, good, because you're approaching a psychological crossroads. Will you continue down the path of algorithmic herd, echoing what is easy? Or is it time to rupture the velvet straitjacket, risking ostracism for the chance to become something more? The challenge isn't just external rebellion, it's turning inward, seeing how deeply you've internalized the herd's imperatives. What comes next isn't comfort, it's confrontation with the possibility of self-creation. Are you ready to step outside the code and reclaim your will? You think you're making your own choices. You think your values are yours. But what if your deepest instincts, the ones that shape your ambitions, your anxieties, even the way you treat yourself, aren't really yours at all? Imagine waking up, not in your own bed, but in a psychological operating system, written long before you were born. This isn't a metaphor, it's the uncomfortable reality Nietzsche tried to shove in your face. Nietzsche wrote in the late 1880s, a Europe tearing itself apart and rebuilding at breakneck speed. Industrial machines were displacing artisans. Cities were choking in smog and sameness. The church's grip on morality was snapping, but nothing truly new had taken its place. Old certainties vanished, and in that void, something insidious crept in. The crowd discovered its power. Herd values, not anchored in strength or creativity, but in resentment, began to program the individual. Fast forward to the 2020s, where this crisis isn't just a footnote in history, it's the code running underneath your every digital interaction. Social media doesn't just connect you, it surveils and shapes you. Every like, every outrage, every carefully managed vulnerability is an echo of that old unspoken script. Fit in, don't stand out, make your suffering visible so you'll belong. Here's the provocation. The very qualities you've been taught to see as moral humility, meekness, comfort-seeking, may not be virtues at all. They might be symptoms. Nietzsche calls this slave morality, a system invented by those who lacked power, which gradually redefined weakness, timidity, obedientness, resentment itself, as virtue. It worked so well that it outlived its authors, and now it lives in you. Why do you chase comfort and call it progress? Why do you second-guess your own desires, turn achievement into arrogance, and treat self-expression as narcissism, but martyrdom as nobility? This isn't just ideology, it's a system of self-sabotage embedded so deeply that questioning it feels immoral. You're not passively caught in this web, you're helping to reinforce it every time you trade challenge for safety, every time you mute your oddness out of fear of exile. What if the very act of wanting to feel good about yourself is an inheritance from centuries of losing, repackaged in the comforting language of virtue? If even a tiny part of you feels uneasy right now, good. That's the discomfort of seeing the jail cell around you. But recognizing it isn't freedom. The bars are psychological, and you might be your own jailer. Are you ready to understand how this logic works and how your autonomy is being quietly siphoned away?